Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Dragon Age Resurgence. This is session 11. We've broken through all of the fingers in my hands, and it's a very special session today because, as you might see, we have a very special guest. DawnforgedCast is returning to reprise his role as King Kyne, one of a viewer favorites from the last season. So we are very gracious to have him here, and looking forward to having some really good gaming. So to start with, let's go ahead and dive right into the warm-up question. Now, today's warm-up question requires a little bit more thought, which is why I actually gave the players the question ahead of time, just so they can think about it. And I would like for Andrew to do a similar question for Theoben. The question is, I wanted each of the players to come up with a brief anecdote, about a minute or less, that involves their character and one of the other NPC characters, preferably non-party NPC characters, because the non-party NPC characters don't actually follow them around, so you don't get to learn that much about them in comparison. I wanted Theoben to specifically come up with something for King Kyne, and then we'll start with Theoben, just so that Andrew can listen to the story, and then maybe he can come up with something on the spot because he's good at that. And in addition to that, I have given the players the opportunity to give me a non-party NPC to come up with an anecdote about, especially someone that, again, we haven't had much exposure to, and they just wanted to learn a little bit more about that character's past.
So what I came up with, and Andrew is more than welcome to correct me if any of this may not have been how it would have happened, but during his time with the Resistance, Theoben came up with what he thought was a great innovation, a new trendy potion that all the surviving dwarves would be using, and it was a murky, kind of vicious-looking orange tonic. Bizarrely, it smelled like banana, but it tasted of peanut. And he threw a lot of stuff together to create this and test it with many types of nuts, herbs, berries, as well as deep mushroom, soldier's bane. And what it was supposed to do was enhance the strength or dexterity put behind damaging an opponent. So it essentially increased damage output. And he was able to make this with the limited supplies available to them in the Resistance. So he was very proud of himself. And after a few successful runs with his men, he gave a sample to Kyne. The problem was that Kyne had a peanut allergy, and he started choking, and his face was swollen. Theoben freaked out, believing he'd killed the Resistance. And Kyne was in agony for about 15 minutes, while Theoben quickly had to brew up an antidote, which he did, and Kyne was able to recover. But Theo didn't come up with any innovative ideas after that. His approach was a lot more by the book and less.
So let me get this straight. You inadvertently poisoned Kyne.
Yes.
Which is ironic. Considering how so many people, not so many, but which is ironic considering how there's been a few assassination attempts being made to King Kyne right now. The fact that you were probably the closest to killing him before he even took the throne has to give you some props. I have to give you some props for that. So that's an excellent story. Thank you for sharing that.
That was really cute.
Does that sound accurate? Does that sound like that would have happened with you, Andrew?
It's fitting, yeah.
It's fitting. Okay. Who would like to go next?
When I was a girl, I was part of the Kal-Sharok tribe. They were nomadic, which meant that we had to walk a lot, and I didn't like that. And younger than most, I was made to walk the whole day, and I didn't think that was fair. Other mothers were carrying their children, and mine wasn't. So I complained, and I whined that my feet hurt, or that I was tired, or I just wanted to play, I wanted to be held. And my mother, finally being aggravated with my complaining, sat me down, and she explained that I walked for a reason, and I was walking to be strong, and the world was not behind me, and it was not where I was, it was where I was going. So I must keep walking and keep my head up and my eyes forward. So I have tried to do that ever since. A couple years before she met the group, Kenna was basically in charge of taking caravans across the Frostbacks to like Orlais and Ferelden and vice versa. And so on one such occasion, she was attacked by Cersei, who we've met previously. She was able to fend him off, but she was severely wounded in that battle. So she got the caravan to Jader, and she went back to the woods thinking she could just take care of it herself. The wound ended up getting very infected, and she was getting delirious and just pretty much dying from this infection. So she went back to the King's Road, and she was asking like the other lowlanders if they would help her, and no one would, until she came across Malcolm. And he cleaned her wound. He basically saved her life and asked for nothing in return. And that was the first time she'd ever had kindness given to her by the lowlanders. And that's why she appreciates Malcolm so much, because he saved her life.
So mine is right after Cedric's mother passed, right after like the funeral rites and whatnot. Cedric would be standing, or Cedric or Liam, I don't know anymore. I'm just gonna say Cedric because it's his memory.
It's his memory.
Cedric would be standing over his mother's grave, obviously very distraught, when his father came in, and his father had a very different look about him. Beforehand, he was always a very jolly, kind of like upbeat, like kind of guy. But I guess his expression now is how Cedric's expression is, like present day, very broody like. So it was a very different change, and Cedric actually never saw his father get that happy expression again. But he came up to Cedric and said, son, there is a lot of evil in this world, and some of that evil has taken your mother. Now, I'm not expecting you to do anything because you are just a boy, but if you follow me, I will train you to combat some of that evil. I cannot promise that you will fare well in this. You could die, but there is no shame in that fear. There's only shame in letting that fear rule you. And then as he says that, he holds out his mother's necklace, like by the chain, and says, try not to look scared. And then he'll grab the pendant of the necklace and push it against Cedric's chest, like right where his heart is. He says, try not to look scared, and you'll find bravery in your heart. And from that moment forward, Cedric had dedicated his life to becoming a Templar with his father.
Before Andrea came into Halaster's life, she grew up in, the in the keep of the Kuzlins, but it doesn't really matter how pretty your orphanage is, it's still an orphanage. So I can imagine very easily a scene where, a very young Halaster is trying to come to terms with the fact that she has no family. And I think it was Fergus himself who, took her aside and took her on a quiet walk throughout the halls of his house and tried to explain to Halaster that family is more than blood, more than a name. It's the people who stand by you when you need them. And it's the people who fight with you when your sword grows heavy, and who carry your fire when you burn low. And I think that gave her her entire concept of, everyone is connected. And that probably put her right on the path to the Chantry.
I remember the day we finally found victory. Bronca and her madness ended. Anvil of the Void secured people, our people, saved from Golendom. After the heroes of Ferelden departed, it was just us, the few, the survivors. And we weren't much in the mood for celebration. As the dust was settling, we looked to one another. A strange sensation came over us. We had had no time to stop, no time to think, comprehend, or even just grasp the position we were in. We just went, without pausing, pouring everything we had into this noble cause. But as we looked from one another in the broken halls of our ancestors, grim-faced, uncertain of the future to come, we began to notice something unusual. And we looked hardened, grizzled warriors who had just defeated the greatest threat their kingdom had ever faced. A strange smell in the room. And these dark, hardened warriors, the Legion of the Dead, who devote themselves to battling the deep roads, who had joined our cause. We looked over at them. They started to sniff themselves. Looked over at Theoben, who had been providing us with these things to aid us. And there in the halls of our fathers, the victory finally at hand, we didn't know what else to do but break down in laughter, as the dwarves who have saved Ozamar stank of bananas.
That's excellent. That is excellent. Thank you. All right. Well, I did this to myself. I have to go after Andrew. So, I gave the players an opportunity to choose a non-party NPC to give us a short anecdote out. I'm going to be doing. They chose Old Man Tangerine. So, Old Man Tangerine, if it wasn't obvious, it was implied that he was a storyteller for a Dalish clan. More specifically, possibly, Lithia Shala's clan. Old Man Tangerine, let's go back to his childhood, because you know him as an old man. I want to go back to his youth. So, stories have always fascinated him. He looked up to the storyteller of the Dalish clan back in that day, just devoured everything that he learned through the teachings and the lessons of the stories. But he didn't always see the value in the actual teaching and the lessons. He just thought all the stories were just there to entertain, but he didn't fully grasp the importance of the meaning behind said stories. When he was probably about 12 years old, he wanted to become a good storyteller as well. The problem is he had a tendency to make up a lot of very fantastical things and treat them as truths. Like, no, this actually happened and this actually is a thing. So when he was a kid, he had a tendency to be he wasn't the most punctual child in the world. So whenever some of the Dalish had plans to, play at a certain time or meet up at a certain time, he was always running late. And they were getting a little upset at him. Why are you always showing up late to these things? And he said that, well, the truth is, oh no, I can't tell you. It's you wouldn't believe me anyway. And of course, this started the kids asking, no, what's the truth? What's the reason? So he gave this really over embellished story that he just pulled right out of his butt, that there is this creature that has been hunting him, because the creature is trying to steal his shadow. And the reason why he's always late to these things is because he always conveniently or inconveniently seems to run into this creature on his way to his play date. So he has to dodge around to make sure that the creature can't get to his shadow. And the only way he can do that is to make sure they're in the forest, make sure he's out in in as many shadows as he can, because if he was just out in the open in the light, then his shadow was just there for this creature to snatch him up. So the kids were like, well, what does this creature look like? And he completely made up a description of this creature that looks like a bird with like little red streaks on his feathers. A very large bird with red streaks. And the kids were like, oh, okay. Well, we'll keep an eye out for him. A few weeks later, he runs into the kids and they finds them throwing stones at this bird who happens to match this description that he gave. And they were throwing stones at this bird, and the bird was trying to fly away, but they kept trying to pelt him with rocks. Finally, one of the rocks actually hits the bird, falls to the ground. All of the kids rejoice that they finally destroyed this creature. And Old Man Tangerine, back as a child, felt extremely distraught and guilty about this. He told the kids that he would take care of the creature, and they dispersed. The creature was still alive, but his wing was badly broken. Old Man Tangerine ended up taking this bird and took care of it, nursed it back to health, until finally it was strong enough for him to let it go. And from that day forward, he has had a great affinity for birds, hence why he started talking to Acorn in the first place. And B, he started to understand the consequences of telling tall tales and telling stories just for the sake of entertainment and not necessarily... Sometimes you have to tell stories that actually have some value. And if you're going to tell someone a story, you have to understand the consequences and the impact that story can have, which I think ended up making him a very effective storyteller when he finally grew up years later. That's the story of Old Man Tangerine's past.
That's so good.
Thank
Really
you.
good.
Thank you.
It's so
Very
sad.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's now go back to where we were when we last left off. And we are now in the deep roads, more specifically near Kal-Sharok. It is at this moment, after you guys have your conversation with all of the people that you're having a conversation with in the Taig that we last saw you in, that one of the scouts comes in and he starts talking to the architect in ancient Tavine. Theoben and Andrea can catch words like spot, dwarf, not, and then Kal-Sharok.
You spotted a dwarf?
The Darkspawn looks towards you and he nods.
What do you look like? She. He.
He starts speaking again in ancient Tavine. You catch the number 6 or 7. You catch him say again, not and Kal-Sharok. It's hard for you to get some of the other words that he's saying, but
Not Kal-Sharok, so from Orzammar.
That
He
would be my
nods.
guess, yes.
The architect asks, where did you spot these dwarves? And again, he will give an explanation in ancient Tavine. And when he gives the description of the location, he says, that's not very far from here.
What did they look like?
It's at this point that Razakil pipes up and says, He said they look strong, but not as big and burly as the Kal-Sharok dwarves, not as pale, not as many tattoos. One of them limping, injured.
Then we must help.
Yes. It's very likely the people we're looking for, right?
I can take you. According to him, they not moving fast because of injured dwarf, but that means they are vulnerable.
Vulnerable or not, they need help.
Fergus pipes up and says, "Don't worry about us. We'll be fine right here. Holly and Drea, perhaps we can do some catching up when all of this is over."
Of course.
Yes.
It's very good to see you both.
It's good to
You
see you as
too.
well.
He turns to to Halaser and says, "I'm sure Bellum will watch over you as well."
Thank you. Rest well.
He will nod. "Good luck," the architect says. "If the king wishes to come here, if this dwarf indeed includes the king, he is welcome here as long as he agrees not to outright attack our people."
Thank you. And I will slightly bow. Just a little, because Andre is not a bower, but she would.
Fair enough. You guys leave the chamber, and you guys leave the Tig. Razakale will be leading you based on the directions that the Darkspawn had given her. It doesn't take you that long. I would probably say it's about a 10-minute journey from the main gate of the Tig. And in the distance, you will see a small group of dwarves. There are about... You see one dwarf with reddish, brownish, rusty, not quite red, rusty brown, reddish hair and a beard, dressed in a relatively magnificent looking piece of armor. It's not King Kyne. Followed by 5 other dwarves, one of whom is limping, that appear to be dressed in Legion of the Dead armor, as well as His Highness King Kyne as well, who currently is helping his injured brethren. I'd say you guys are about 30 yards away. Currently, there doesn't seem to be any threat on them, but you probably are thinking that will not be the case indefinitely.
Theoben will rush over and drop to his knees and bow before his king. Your Highness.
King Kyne, you will see this menagerie of people, including a large white bear, as well as a woman that... This is a description of the woman, but she doesn't look like a Darkspawn. She actually is dressed in a Harlequin uniform, if you can believe that, with a Orlesian mask. Her face is completely shielded. So for all intents and purposes, this is just another human who kind of walks or moves oddly. But other than that, I don't think you would necessarily peg her as a Darkspawn.
And she smells nice now. We took care of that.
Most important of all.
Your Highness.
What? It's not fair and solely, is it?
Indeed. Sire, how do you fare? Well?
What are you doing on this side of the world?
That is a very long story. Might I inquire the same? It's not safe to be out here.
No, it's not. We were traveling to Kal-Sharok, continuing the great endeavor, as it were. Not going so well.
Does your friend need help? He indicates with his head towards the dwarf who is injured.
Yeah, the Darkspawn in this region are not, well, they're Darkspawn, so, murderous, terrible. We've had a few run-ins with them, just barely was able to sneak away from the last group. Now he's a bit hurt.
Might I take a look?
Yes, my apologies. How rude of me. Sire, these are my friends. This is the Kunari is Andrea, Dawnbringer.
Hello.
This is Halaser of the Chantry.
Sire.
Kenna of the Sky People.
Nice to meet you, Your Majesty.
And Cedric Ashwood of the Surface Templars.
Strength and honor to you, friend.
The bear is eyeing the dwarves curiously. He's still contemplating on how he feels of these new people. Razakale is keeping silent. Based on her body language, she looks uncomfortable. I should also point out to you, Hannah, that one of the other dwarves that I pointed out as having magnificent-looking armor, but is not King Kyne, is this dwarf, Gorum Silak. Those of you who play Dragon Age Origins know that if you were a dwarven noble, Gorum Silak is the person who temporarily joins you during the noble origin story. Theobin, you know that Gorum Silak is King Kyne's faithful and devoted personal bodyguard.
It's a strange entourage you got coming around you. And you didn't answer my question. Oh, banana potion brewer, if I remember correctly.
It
Brings you
helped,
here.
Sire. I have to say, don't knock it. We were actually out here searching for yourself. We had reason to believe you may have been in danger.
Looking for me.
Yes.
Danger, yes. All around every corner here. But you found me. But, interesting. Did Ozamar send you out? Did they task you to see me?
We have been to Orzammar, Sire. We believe that this fellow, Sevian, he might have been following your route, and we did not trust him.
I don't think we've come across anyone like that. We must have been busying ourselves with Kal-Sharok and trying to convince them to, rekindle the old ways. But the darkspawn in this region are proven mighty. You haven't come across them, have you? We were just scouting an encampment nearby when they just came upon us in swarm. Some disturbing rumors about darkspawn down here. Speaking of tongue,
One of the Legion of the Dead pipes up and says, "They killed 2 of our men, including our trained medic, which is why we weren't able to properly stitch up our friend here." Andrea, you'll notice that there is a large gash on the side of the dwarf. Clearly, the wound is semi-stitched, but not very well. It looks like it's definitely infected. You're not sure if it is or isn't infected by the taint.
Lovely. Okay. Well, do you mind if I take a look at this? I'm okay. I'm a novice healer, I would say.
My lord, Gorham says, do you think that would be wise? You know that dwarves in general are a little antsy about magic, even if it's for healing. Gorham is one of the dwarves who has personal reservations.
With all due respect, Sir Selic, I fear that without it, his options are limited.
He silently nods.
well, these are, as you rightly know, Theobin, and perhaps your friends do not. These are the Legion of the Dead. They have already made the commitments that they will die by the hand of the Darkspawn.
It doesn't
Just
have
how
to
and
be
when.
today. Does not have to be today, sir.
Nope. I leave it up to him. He gestures to the soldier. If he wants to take it, then he can.
I'll let Andrea make a. Let's have Andrea make a diplomacy roll.
What? Okay. Hey guys, hey
Probably better
guys.
than what I was gonna offer.
I'm kind of okay with this. um, 14, maybe.
14. The dwarf pauses for a moment and then he says, "It's not going to hurt any worse than it is right now, is it?"
No, probably not. Right now it looks not so good.
"Give me a second," he says. He pulls into his pack, pulls out a flask, takes a sip from the flask. "Okay, do your worst,"
Okay, Andrea, get ready. And then
he
she'll.
says as his breath suddenly smells like ale.
Awesome. I'll just put my hands over the injury and go to heal it.
Go ahead. How many hit points?
Oh, well, I'm gonna use 3 mana. I just rolled
Okay.
to see if I succeeded or not, dude. And then just 15 hit points.
Okay. Yeah. You, a white aura comes from your fingers as the wound starts to be cleaned and mended. The cut seems to have closed completely. The person probably still needs bed rest in order to continue on, but he will live. He will live.
Well,
There
I
you go.
appreciate it. Andrea, I think it was.
Yes, pleasure to meet you.
Likewise. I'm not sure that the open tunnels are the ideal place to have a conversation. Perhaps
No.
we should get a little more defensible, and then you can tell me a little bit more about your quest to come find me, and if you've had any run-in with the Darkspawn as we have.
Hmm.
I deeply appreciate knowing all the details of that.
Yes, sir.
Razakale clenches her fists. She does not look comfortable at all.
Halaser is going to very quietly stand next to Razakale. And she's not going to like reach out or anything, but the standing next to her should be significant to her.
It is at this point that Theo will finally rise from his bowing position.
Wow, Theo. Wow.
Impressive.
Sorry, you didn't have to do that. You're one. I mean, you were there when this all first started, so they've been sorry to have forgotten you there. Come on, walk with me. Tell me what you've been up to.
Of course. Are you comfortable with my friends accompanying us?
Well, the bear's given me a bit of pause, but
It has that effect on me as well.
He won't do anything to you, don't worry.
Theoben will turn to Kenna and say, as long as your bear behaves, we can all go walk with my king.
When has he not behaved? He's been great this whole time.
The White Spire Pantry would disagree.
Oh, okay, it's so dangerous. I'll hang back behind everybody with the bear.
I'll walk with Kenna. Okay.
Okay, and Theoben will start walking with Kyne. Sire, these reports of talking Darkspawn are very disturbing. Do you
indeed.
feel like there may be something to it? Darkspawn don't just start talking.
No, and with talking comes planning and plotting and making them ever more dangerous. And I'm afraid our negotiations with Paragon Azahar have stalled a bit. He wants us to deal with this problem. They're proving a bit more than we expected. Legion of the Dead have no issues with battling about to be darkspawn, but their tactics are very new.
Have you considered that with thinking may come sentience, free will? Perhaps they're not mindless monsters.
Well, I'd have to see that for myself, but I'm highly skeptical. Darkspawn have had hundred years to be showing us that they had some sort of sign of decency about them, and they've brought nothing but plagues and blights.
Yes. With all due respect, however, would we have realistically given them chance to?
I feel like there's something that you know that that you've maybe
No,
had a run-in with the guys.
I feel that talking Darkspawn is a very big issue, bigger than just planning and strategy. When one is no longer a mindless creature, unless they're being forced by something, usually that means they can think for themselves, does it not?
I'll consider the possibility that upon gaining their own freedom, not bound by an archdemon or some other malevolent force, there might be the possibility that they might choose to go against their nature, but the ones that we've been encountering, if they're at all members of this organization, just like the old Darkspawn, only more wicked, more dangerous.
Did they attack first?
We were scouting them out, and indeed, we were ambushed twice.
By talking Darkspawn?
That's my understanding. They didn't speak much while things were happening, but they were skilled.
There's clearly a lot to think about. And you intend to follow through with your task from the Paragon Elect?
The pressure. He looks a bit less kingly for a moment, a little more dwarf, a little more human. There's a lot of things to balance. The people back at home would not look favorably on hooking Darkspawn or us giving them any little bit of wiggle room. That's not the way. That's not the traditions, and even if I am attempting to change a few of the more outdated ones or adapt what is really necessary to restabilize our people, there's no way Orzammar would ever condone anything but the death of Darkspawn. We need Kal-Sharok. We need them bad. I mean, I can only do so much. I'm only one man. My harem is so small. There's only so much I'm able to really accomplish. We have to win them over. The Paragon will not be persuaded unless we deal with these Darkspawn.
I understand. We must pick and choose our own battles, so I understand that completely.
Well, let's pause from this this heavier conversation, and we'll include your friends in a little bit of maybe a proper strategy discussion and whatever else you've come across. But I have to know, you've probably been at your old antics, I hope. Tell me, what's the most entertaining thing that you've concocted of late?
I've made a very useful poison out of Darkspawn saliva. Really happy about it. It's very powerful. It inflicts creatures with the sickly effects of the taint, which works very well against enemies.
Poison, you say?
Indeed.
I did think you dabbled in this just a little bit. I thought you had predominantly potions and other alchemical wares.
With things being a lot more dangerous nowadays, I adapted. I have a Venus flytrap poison that completely diminishes armor. Very useful.
Not bad whatsoever.
Indeed. You can see the use in such things.
Poisons are quite useful in the right hands, I would say so. Or peanuts, in certain situations. Can
You
do
could have
just
stated
as well.
you had allergies, sire. I'm not a mind reader.
But you don't know that you have allergies until you know that you have them, I suppose. It's not a common dwarven delicacy, you know.
Right. I do hope your food tasters check for peanuts before you eat every meal.
Well, sometimes. Gorham is a bit, it depends on his level of famishment any given day. He can be overzealous in his food tasting duties.
Right. Does he leave any for you, sir?
Enough to get by, as it were. And I'm glad to have him.
I don't know how long you've been out here, but last we were in Orzammar, by the way, your wives were doing fine. They looked very well.
Were they?
Yes.
Good. You met with them?
No. There was a feast to celebrate the safe return of the anvil, and they were present.
Anvil of the Void, Andrew, just so you know. You did not know that there was a missing Anvil of the Void to return, by the way. You weren't aware that it was missing in the first place.
Yeah.
You'll have to fill me in on that.
We have clearly a lot to discuss, sir.
That's good.
But this does link into why we were looking for you. It seems, well, I was very disturbed to find the Anvil of the Void went missing.
I thought we had secured that pretty securely.
As did I, sire. As did I. By the way, the area it was kept, it's been sort of demolished. Not our fault.
I see. Well, we got it back.
Well, it's concerning. So, the fellow who brought it back, he seemingly just stumbled upon Carter dwarves that happened to have it and just brought it back, just like that. It seems too convenient, sire.
Yes, we'll have to keep a close eye on it after the very unfortunate, terrible calamity with Bronca and her misguided ways. We can't have that happen again. It's been a debate in my mind whether to just do away with it entirely, but part of me says, if we find ourselves in a position we might need it again, I don't think so. That's such a terrible fate.
Considering everything that we went through, it seems like a very high risk. You will hopefully reign for many years to come, but should any future monarch not be as good, it could do a lot of harm.
Well, I can do quite a bit of harm too, whether I want to or not. It's quite hard being king. You probably don't know, but
it doesn't
it's not
show.
what I expected. Well,
but this man that found the anvil, this Sevian, apparently he is vying for the position of king of Ferelden.
Yes, I got some notice that they were meeting, a few letters on the candidates. I haven't really looked through it thoroughly.
Yes. My associate Halaser has personal feelings on this, and has reason to judge he is not of a good character, but we believe that he was trying to vie for your approval, and given our suspicions on his character, we were concerned, as he mentioned, coming to find you.
Well, he hasn't found us yet, but You're right to be suspicious. Not entirely uncoincidental does the Anvil of the Void go missing and he happens to return it simultaneous to be looking to procure my favor.
Exactly.
Good to know. Interesting. Let's touch back on the Darkspawn and what we're dealing with here. Gorham, are we secure for the moment, or do we need to press on?
Aye, my lord. While they were having this conversation, we'll double back a little bit. Gorham actually, while Theoben and Kyne are talking, Gorham actually approaches the other side of the group. And he asks, I think he would probably move towards the general direction of Halasair and Cedric. And he will ask, so, you're friends of Mr. Theoben Solney?
Yes.
My name is Sir Gorham Silak, he says as he holds out his hand.
She will grab it and give it a very firm handshake.
As will Cedric.
His Highness is my charge. I am his bodyguard.
Of course.
How have you all become acquainted with Mr. Solney? He asks.
This is a very complicated question to answer. Suffice it to say that we have discovered each other in honor, and we have chosen to travel together as allies and friends.
I'm sorry that we are meeting up with His Highness in such compromising times.
Yes, as am I.
Have the Darkspawn managed to attack you as well down here?
Not yet.
Good. They are vile creatures. And when he says that, Raziel just like that dagger's just twisting and she's like biting her tongue.
Yeah.
When Gorham says that. We lost 2 of our men. One when during the initial ambush. We were holed up for several days while we were tending to Matthias's wounds. When the swarm had thinned out, we were trying to make a break for it. Unfortunately, one of our other men ended up falling in the process in order to let us escape.
That is a shame, and it is commendable both. Is this all of you then?
Yes, there were 9 of us total. We were originally going to try to do some reconnaissance. We had no intention of taking on the leader of the Darkspawn head on until we had some information that we could bring back to Orzammar so that we can amass what forces we have to return back to Kal-Sharok and take out the Darkspawn leader.
She falls silent and thoughtful for a moment.
Raziel leans towards Andrea and Kenna and whispers to them, I don't like these dwarves.
I know.
Give me the signal, please give me the signal, she says.
We still want them to be on our sides, Bazzy. We need their help.
We do.
I don't think that they will be easily convinced.
No.
But we have to try.
Best to take care of them now before they become a nuisance.
No.
No.
She's
Rosie?
not wrong.
Rosie, do the broodmother's Darkspawn talk?
She says, not the ones she makes, no. We started off as one giant group, one faction. Some of them split off and joined the mother. Some of them who can speak are with her. But the ones that she makes on her own, they are as mindless as any of the other ones. Slaves to the calling as well.
So
her people might have attacked them and they think it was your people, kind of thing?
It's possible. When we woke up, we were given a choice. We could make our own decisions as to where our loyalties lie. They chose her. We chose the father. The mother wishes to take the deep roads by force. The father wanted to try something differently. That is where the two factions split.
They don't understand that there are two factions, Rousey. We should probably show them. It's not going to be easy, but we should probably show them. Because if we kill everyone who looks at us funny, we won't have any allies.
She nods. You are right.
I know.
Even Kenneth looked at me funny before.
Yes.
But it was cute funny.
I thought it was quite, scary, but alright. I guess I'm not intimidating.
Plus, it not hurt that there was a cute fox there too. I tend to be in better behavior around such creatures.
Maybe you just keep petting Esbjorn.
He does like you.
Esbjorn is cute in its own right. But I think between the two of us, Esbjorn sees me as his pet.
Oh.
I think he sees that way about a lot of us. Honestly.
Cannot say that I blame him.
He's pretty smart.
Fine, she says. I will not speak of this again. Just try to talk to them quickly before this gets out of hand.
Right. Okay. We can do that, right, Kenna?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
We got this. We can do it.
We've so got this.
It's at this point that Gorham responds back to King Kyne. Aye, my lord. Ready to go. Things are secure. The question is, do you want us to return back to the surface? Perhaps it's time for us to regroup and go back to Orzammar.
Soon enough. I think our new associates and friends here might be able to shed a little more light on the situation. At least what Theobin tells me that it's more complex than we initially see. Though he has yet to divulge exactly how complex he knows it.
In a more private setting, sir, I will tell you all.
Well,
If that is what you wish, my lord, I am only trying to think of your safety. Whatever you desire.
you're good to me, Gordon. Thank you.
Just remember that the next time you try to feed me more of that banana mash.
Listen, it was poisoned. I'm sure of it. It was all like brown and gooey. I didn't feed it to you. That's your job. You insisted upon eating everything that I touch. And, it's you first, me first. Gorham must eat so that king is first.
With all due respect, sir, yes, but bananas, that's not part of a normal dwarven diet.
Kindness to
Surely you
Theobin.
can understand.
Oh, yeah. Well aware that dwarves and bananas don't go together.
It makes it smell more appetizing, sir.
Makes me nauseous just thinking about it, Gorham says.
Oh, I remember that day. We all realized what we smelled like. That it's good memories. Even so. Well, take the other four, let Matthias rest, and secure the perimeter, and I suppose we'll speak privately, as it were.
Okay. We'll say that you found some sort of alcove, whatever that those things are called, that you guys can sort of set up some sort of defensible camp, I guess. Makeshift camp. It's still, in the middle of the day, so there's no need to go to bed yet, but go ahead and have whatever conversations your characters want to have.
Apologies, Theoben, I don't think you introduced your other friends. He points at Raza.
Yes, Razakel, yes.
My apologies, sir. I've learned to ignore the Harlequin suit. It's too Elysian for me. That is Razakel.
And where did you meet?
She is a friend of Kenna's, the sky person. What do they call them? Avar.
Avar. I said it a couple times.
You're not in this
Yes, you
scene.
know.
I'm not in that scene. Sorry. So you're Sky.
Interesting. She's
Yes.
been eyeing us. Well, at least the body language says she don't like us.
Yes. Well, I mean, the dwarves are very, very isolationist prior to your reign. I don't think it's that unusual for surfacers to despise us.
Well, to be fair, isolationist is not like we wanted to be left alone from nothing. The Darkspawn, the Blight. There was good reason why we closed our gates.
I understand completely. Honestly, Razakel and I aren't that close. I couldn't tell you a lot about her. As if she joined the group with Kenna. She does seem to be very attached to a Kunari friend. So perhaps if you wish to find more, speak to them. But I've had the odd conversation with her. She seems pleasant enough.
Well, did you want to bring in your companions for our discussion here? To fill me in on what you know about the situation?
Would you prefer that, sir? I leave it in your hands.
They look interesting. Yes. If
Very well.
they're, if you trust them, then that's good enough.
Okay. I'll bring them. And Theoben will strut back to the group.
He's strutting. Nice.
Yeah, he's strutting. He's in a good mood.
Okay,
Right.
go ahead.
You
My
know
king-
kings, huh?
My king wishes to speak to you all. Remember your manners, be respectful, and don't mention bananas.
What?
Bananas?
Or peanuts.
Or peanuts? All right. Is this a dwarven thing?
No, it's a Theoben thing. It's a long story.
Okay.
Hmm.
Might need to hear said story eventually, but all right.
Yes.
You guys will make your way towards King Kyne's. The Legion of the Dead will be, setting up camp. Gorham, however, will remain by Kyne's side, obviously, but everyone else will be part of this conversation. Go ahead.
Greetings, welcome everyone. I was not expecting, of course, to run into such an assemblage of people down here. But Theoben and I have been speaking, and well, if you weren't unaware, our task down here is to convince Kal-Sharok that opening relations again would be ideal. They're apprehensive, but would be persuaded, given that they're dealing with a recent insurgency of a, talking darkspawn. And we've come to figure out who those are, and I think we've got a good idea. And Theoben has told me that perhaps the situation is more complicated than I'm aware of, and so I wanted to welcome and invite you all to share with me what you may or may not have discerned in your time down here.
Hallister's actually going to be quiet for a moment and looking to the others, because much as she might want to say something immediately, She just has a feeling that maybe the first words aren't hers to give.
Cedric would be having the same look. He's just like looking around like, who's gonna say it?
Yeah, I'd kind of pointedly looking at Theo, like, you're king, man.
Thanks, guys. Feeling the support. Really feeling the support.
You're buddy king. Come on.
No.
You can talk to him. You're besties.
Then Theo's just gonna say, Your Highness, we have met some of them. Some of the talking darkspawn of which you speak. They did not make any moves to attack us. They simply wished to talk, and we saw their community. It was just like ours. They had families, merchants, parents, children. I don't know how that works. It really grosses me out, but it's what we. We believe that there is what we have discerned from a leader who calls himself the Architect is that there is a faction of these darkspawn that are not quite so nice, that also talk, led by something called the Mother.
Have you discerned how they've come to be the way they are? What caused this?
They have had the calling removed from them, sire. They have participated in a reverse joining, one who the ritual that is used to make Grey Wardens. The Darkspawn have reversed. That they are free from the calling and can make choices as they wish. It seems some have opted to be left alone in their own community under the Architect, and some have followed the Mother. Those are likely the ones that attacked you and your men.
And you seem convinced that that these darkspawn are worth keeping around. Is that?
They are living beings, sire. They have, no matter the way they came to it, they have children, and they are beset on all sides by all other living creatures. For as much as you and your people are suffering, these people, if they speak true, are suffering equally, if not more, for their lack of numbers. They could use allies instead of added enemies.
My lord, if I may speak, Gorham says. How do we not know that this isn't all just an elaborate trap or a ruse? How do you know for sure that we can trust these darkspawn that you speak of?
A good question.
This is a wise question to ask.
Honestly, sire, if I didn't see it for myself, I would not believe it either. But we were surrounded when we viewed this community. They wanted to eliminate us. They could have easily done so.
Indeed.
But it was they who pointed us to the Mother.
And if they wanted to convince you that they were good, then they wanted you to convince other people. They would show you this, and then they would let you go. And then you'd spread the word to others, and then, well...
And
Yes.
then what intent could they have? If they wish to kill us, they could do so, sire. Centuries have proven that.
I understand what you're saying, Your Majesty, but if I might, would an innocent person and a guilty person both argue that they are innocent? Saying that I am not a threat is something that both people who are threats and who are not threats would do.
Yes.
I'm sorry, how does that make your point? that they are worth
Because
treating.
because you are arguing that them saying that they are innocent means that they very well might be guilty, but they also might be innocent.
I would like to suggest, provided no offensive measures are taken, that you see for yourself, because I honestly would not believe it had I have not seen it. I imagine this is a big leap for you to take, Sire, and I don't think you'll understand without proof.
I agree.
I'm not sure Gorum would be so thrilled to have King of Orzammar walking into a, what do you call it, a village of the Darkspawn.
Perhaps then, sire, we find a neutral ground to meet where you can talk openly and freely with this Darkspawn leader. I understand Gorham's position on wanting to protect you. I also have a charge here that I need to protect. So I can see why walking into the enemy base would be bad.
Gorham nods silently.
What is the relationship between, I think you said, the architect and the mother? If the mother's the one causing the problems for Kal-Sharok, why haven't the architect's followers done something about it? Surely it's spreading a bad reputation on their behalf.
Ha!
Well, now that you mention it, they kind of tasked us with killing her, so.
Let's be honest, we tasked ourselves.
Yeah, it was kind of my fault.
And having seen their numbers,
There was not enough numbers to face a creature that could reproduce.
yes, their fighting force was relatively limited to only being able to hold a defensive stand. An aggressive would be suicide for their kind.
Indeed.
It's still a strange number of adjectives and things describing to the menace that has blighted for Eldon for a century, and now you're wanting us to suddenly change.
They were still the creatures that attacked us for centuries were still monsters. They were still things that need to be slain. My opinion has not changed on that, sire. But these are not the same Darkspawn.
I'm certainly not unsympathetic to one struggle between appearances and what lies underneath. For far too long, our people have been confined by, well, let's just call it nonsense of the caste system. You're born here and you're stuck, and you're treated a certain way. But no one, you know this there, but no one in Orzammar is going to take this.
No.
They're not going to be interested. I go back to them saying that I left a village of talking Darkspawn talking to thrive and grow on its own. They'd have my head.